Hello everybody, Jennifer Maker here. It's a beautiful day to show you how to organize all your files with a special focus on SVGs, PNGs, JPEGs, and other design files like that, which tend to clutter things up. So you can calm the chaos and find things easier and faster. If you've been downloading files and just leaving them right where they are, right in your downloads folder or on your desktop, you probably already noticed how hard it is to find and use your files. Even if you've been trying to organize files, you may notice it's getting harder and harder as your collection grows. I totally get you. Most of us were never taught how to actually organize digital files, and we've just been doing whatever seems to make sense. And sometimes we don't do anything at all. But I can help. I've been using computers and organizing my files on them since the late 80s, seriously. And over the past few decades, I've come up with systems that actually work for the long haul. As a teacher, designer, and author, I work with hundreds of thousands of files on a regular basis, and these systems work for me. Now, I love to be organized, but I don't love to actually do the organizing on a day-to-day basis. This is my truth. So my systems are made for ease of use, and I'm not going to recommend you do all the things that you could do to organize, as there's really quite a few. My systems are the simplest ways because I'm that person who would rather just get on with things rather than spend my time fussing with my files. So I'm going to share my 2 tried and true file organization systems that I think work the best in the real world, and you can pick the one that is right for you based on how you use your files. Now, before I dive into explaining my 2 systems, let's do a quick overview of digital terms. For the purposes of this presentation, a folder is a container that holds one or more files, and a file is a single document such as an SVG, PNG, or JPEG. A file name is what we call a file. It's the name that appears on the file itself. And the file extension is the 3 or 4-digit abbreviation that appears at the end of a file name, such as .svg or .png. To unzip or decompress something means to extract the contents of a file that ends in .zip. You can unzip something right in Windows by right-clicking and choosing Extract All, and on the Mac by either double-clicking the file or by right-clicking and choosing Open with Archive Utility. By the way, many people ask if it's necessary to keep the DXF files if you already have like the SVG, and no, you do not need to keep those. You also do not need to keep the zip file once you've extracted the contents. Both can and should be deleted to avoid confusion and clutter. That said, I rarely get around to deleting them. I did warn you that I don't really like to organize. So I'm going to show you how to organize files on both a Windows computer and a Mac computer. So I'm going to invite you into my computer so you can see up close how everything works. So let's talk about the first file organization system, the Gallery of Art. This is a centralized folder with thumbnails and effective file names. My gallery organization method is for those of you who are more casual file collectors, who have collections that are either smaller or simpler and have less need for hierarchy. This method also works best when you're dealing with one primary type of file, like all design files in SVG, PNG, or JPEG format. To use my gallery system, you'll want to create or use one centralized folder on your computer or device for your files. Many of you may already be doing this by letting all of your files go to your download folder. But there's more to this than that. You need to remove hierarchy. So if you downloaded a zip file that has the contents in folders, you'll need to move it out of the folders and into your one big centralized folder, your gallery folder. The advantages to a centralized folder like this is that all your files of a certain type are in it, so you don't have to look in multiple locations. Plus, when all of your files are in one folder, you can more easily browse thumbnails to find what you seek. In essence, you create your own file gallery that can be browsed and searched at will. Let me show you how to do the gallery method on a PC running Windows 11. Mac users, I'll get to you in a moment. So select File Explorer, which is the yellow icon down here at the bottom, and then choose Documents. And you'll want to create a new folder by clicking on New and choose Folder. Now give it a name by typing in Designs or whatever you want to organize. Now before you do anything else, pin this folder to the sidebar by clicking and dragging it over like this. Now you have easy access to it. You can also right-click the folder and choose Pin to Start, and now it's always available under the Start menu. The Start menu is right down here at the bottom, and there it is. Now just gather your files that you want to organize into this new folder. I recommend you right-click on the new folder that you just made, just like this, and choose Open in New Window right here. Then position your Designs folder right next to your first window. Now in the first window, find all of the files that you want and then move them on over to your new folder. So I recommend you start in your Downloads folder. That's probably where many of your files are currently living. And you can just go ahead and drag them on over. You can click and drag and drop, and they'll move over to your design folder. You can actually hold down your Shift key and select several at a time, like this, and then click, hold, and drag them on over. Or you can choose individual ones like this, and then move them over like that. It's up to you. You can also just search for file types. For example, if I type in SVG up here in the search bar, it shows me everything in a Downloads folder that is SVG. So right here, I'll need to click Show All 47. And these are all of the things that are designated as SVG files or have SVG in the file name. If I expand this, you can see they're all right here. So I can just select all of these in one go like this by holding down the Shift key on my keyboard and then click, hold, and drag them all over. So there's many ways to get your files into your folder, your centralized folder. You will find the ways that work the best for you. If you'd like to browse the items in this folder like a gallery, which of course is one of the main benefits of this method, there's an extra step you have to take on Windows. If you mostly have PNG and JPEG files, you can go to the View menu and you can choose one of these icon views right here at the top. So I'll change it to large icons. And well, I mostly have SVGs, nothing else. Let's get some PNGs in here so you can see what this might look like. So I'm going to search on PNG. And here's a bunch of PNG files. I'll move these on over to my design folder. All right, so now these are, graphic files that have an image in them, so we can see the thumbnail. But of course, if you have SVGs, you can't see them. But if you want to browse those visually too, you'll just need to take an extra step and install a program called PowerToys, which is a free utility from Microsoft. You'll find it at jennifermaker.com/PowerToys. That brings us to this page. Let's go ahead and click on Install PowerToys. We'll need to click this button that says Install PowerToys here. And then we need to download the file from here. Once it's downloaded, go ahead and click Open File. You'll have to click I agree to the license terms and conditions, and then choose Install. All right, let's see if that worked. Let's go ahead and minimize all of this. And there we go. We can now see all of our SVGs and PNGs and JPEGs in this folder. So this is really cool, and now you can just browse this if you are looking for something specific. Now, my friends on Mac can do this too. To make a centralized folder on the Mac, go to your Finder, which is down here in your dock and looks like two blue faces. Then choose the Go menu at the top of the screen and select Documents. With the Documents folder open, go to the File menu at the top and choose New Folder, and give your centralized folder a good name. I will call this folder Designs, but you can use any other descriptive name that you will recognize. Now, before you do anything else, pin this folder to the sidebar on the left by clicking and dragging it over just like this. If you don't see your sidebar, go to the View menu and choose Show Sidebar. Now you have easy access to your centralized folder. Now you just gather your files that you want to organize into this new folder. I recommend you go to the File menu at the top and choose New Finder Window, and then position your Designs folder right next to your New Finder window. And just search for all your files, and then move them over to your new folder by clicking, holding, dragging, and dropping. Now, because I'm organizing design files today, I like to just search for a typical file extension, such as .svg. And then choose SVG image from the drop-down menu, and all of my SVGs on my computer appear in a list for me to click and drag over. Unlike Windows, Mac has a built-in way to view the thumbnail. Just go to the View menu at the top and choose either Icons or Gallery. Icons will give you little thumbnails, like this, while choosing Gallery will give you the big previews, and you can scroll through them. It's pretty cool. Another option is to view in columns, which will give you a thumbnail, but only when the file is selected. This is actually how I usually view my files, but everyone will develop their own preference. Now, whether you're using a Mac or you've got Windows, the Gallery centralized folder method does require that you have decent file names for good searching. So always pay attention to the file name when you add things to the folder and rename if necessary. To rename a file, just right-click and choose Rename. So for example, I can choose to rename this one to Daisies. So I right-click it and I go down here under Show More Options and I choose Rename. And now we can just type what I want in here. So I'm going to type 3D Daisy Bouquet. It works the same way on the Mac. Just right-click it and choose Rename and type in a new name. Good file names meet the following requirements. They're clear. That means the file name makes it easy to quickly identify and understand the file at a glance. They're consistent. The file name is in the same style to make it easier to sort and search for files. Don't start one file with, say, a color and another file with a theme. It's complete. The file name spells out the words and does not use acronyms or abbreviations, which would be hard to remember and also hard to search on. And they're concise. The file name isn't so long that you can't read it or causes issues. While you can have a file name of up to 256 characters, that is going to be really hard to read. I try to keep my file names under 100 characters. And it may seem like the gallery method could get unwieldy as your collection grows, yes, but remember that these files are all digital. A digital folder can hold way more files than you're ever likely to collect, unlike a real-life file folder. So you can just keep adding things, and we have excellent search functions that can find our files so long as they have good file names. And searching can be a lot faster than other organizational methods. But what happens when you start to get duplicates or different versions or special things for special projects? Or you have so many files in one folder that your computer starts to slow down, because this is totally a thing when you get up around 100,000 files or more, and I know some of you might have collections that large. So once this level of complexity is introduced, you may want to consider my second method. File organization system number 2, the Library of Alexandria, a hierarchical structure based on theme or projects. With my library file organization system, we add folders within folders that organize our files, not unlike the way a library is organized into sections, subsections, and collections. This method can help you keep similar files together, which can often make it easier to hone in on what you want, even when you're not sure of the exact file name that you might have used for it, or when you have so many files that you cannot possibly look at every single file in a gallery. I use the library method for my own project files, which span many different types and even versions. To really use the library method effectively, you need to first decide on a structure. For example, I've chosen to organize my library by project, but you could instead choose to organize it by theme or by craft type, or by client if you sell things, or really by whatever you want. It's what makes the most sense to you. I like to use projects because then I can have a variety of projects. I have craft projects, business projects, people projects. And then I just list all of my projects in one big list, not unlike my gallery method, which allows me to just browse it quickly. So to use the library system of file organization, you can either create new folders within that first folder that you already made if you're building off of the gallery method. So for example, I'm going to come up here and change my view to details. So we go back to the list view. And then we can just create new folders in here. So just click on new, do folder, and I'll do botanical. Right? And now I can move things like flowers into the botanical folder if I want to. So let's say you want to organize your design files into categories. So you could create a folder for animals, a folder for botanical, and a folder for celebrations. And then you just drop your files into them. You can, of course, further organize things. So like the animals folder could have folders for farm animals, aquatic animals, that sort of thing. But I want to caution you not to go too deep and nest too many folders inside other folders. The general rule of thumb is not to go any deeper than 5 levels. Now you're already 1 level deep just by creating this folder in your documents folder. And then you're another level deep with the subfolders, the categories. So I recommend no more than 1 more level past this, 2 if you absolutely must. If you go too deep, you'll find it really hard to find stuff that is buried in folders you cannot see. If you do use the library system with subfolders for things, consider also keeping things like instructions, licenses, and other support files with your files so you always have them available. I really believe that one of these 2 methods, the gallery method or the library method, can save your digital life. Now let me quickly share some extra tips that have really made a difference for me over the years. First, consider using shortcuts. You may be wondering what to do about a file that seems to fit in more than one category, like say my floral animal designs here, right? It could go in both the cats folder and in the flowers folder. If this happens, and it will, I recommend you pick one folder and then you make a shortcut from that folder to the other one. So let's go ahead and move this into the animals folder. So I'm going to move it over to designs, and then in designs, we'll move this black cat right here into animals. And in animals, we'll create a subfolder, new folder for cats. And we'll move, in fact, we're going to change the file name while we're at it. So we're going to rename this to Floral Black Cat. And let's move it into the cats folder. All right, so there it is sitting in our cats folder. Awesome. But we would also like to have it in the flower folder, right? It's got lots of flowers. Let's get a bigger look at this, right? Lots of flowers. To make a shortcut on Windows, right-click on a file, or you can also do this with the folder. So you right-click on this, and you come down here to Show More Options, and you choose Create Shortcut. Now you can drag this shortcut anywhere else on your computer that you like. So I'm going to click and drag it into our botanical folder right here. I'll open up botanical, and let's search by details. And let's make a new folder in here for flowers, because there's all different sorts of botanical things, right? And I'm going to slide this over so I can see it more of it. And I'm going to take my Floral Black Cat shortcut, and it does tell us it's a shortcut right here. And we're going to drag this into the flowers folder. So there we go. We can still see it. Let's change this to extra large icons. So here is the shortcut to the file. Now the file only exists actually in one place. That's the original folder you put it in, but now you can have shortcuts anywhere else on your computer to help you find things if you like this hierarchical method. Alternately, you can go to the place that you want the shortcut to appear and then right-click in that folder. So we'll go ahead and right-click right here inside the folder and choose New and choose Shortcut. And then I will click Browse to go find other cats that I would like to have in this folder. So I will look in my documents and then in my animals folder and in my cats folder. And here I have a peach white cat. So I'll choose this and I'll say OK. And I'll click next and finish. And now I have a shortcut of one of my other floral cats in my flowers folder, even though it's sitting in my cats folder. To make a shortcut on the Mac, which is called an alias, just right-click on the file or folder and choose Make Alias. Then move the new alias file into the folder you want. Or you can just hold down the Option and Command keys on your keyboard as you click the file, hold and drag it into another folder, and voila, instant shortcut. Second, think carefully about where you save your files. In this session, we saved our files on our computer hard drives, but you could also upload them to the cloud instead. In this case, the cloud means loosely the internet, and more specifically, it means to save something on internet servers rather than your computer's hard drive. For example, you could upload files to Google Drive, which is free, or Dropbox, which has both a free and a paid version. I use both for different purposes. I really like to use these as I can also choose to allow others to have access to my files, which is useful too. And third, remember to search for everything. Don't just go and browse your gallery or open up your folders. Use your computer's search function to its fullest advantage. On Windows, go to your design folder and then right up here in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see search and the name of your folder. And you can click right in here and you can search for whatever you want. So if I search for cat, I get all of my cat images. Really, really easy and nice. Very fast too. On the Mac, click on the magnifying glass in the upper right corner, type in your word, and you'll get a list of matches. Click on one to go to it, or scroll down and click on Documents to see everything in that folder. You'll get a lot of results, so I find it better to search with the search bar on a Finder window, and then choose Contains to make sure I'm getting everything with the word in the name. Organizing your files like this definitely takes some time, but it is worth it for large or complex collections. Now, I think one of the biggest drawbacks to this method is coming up with all the categories. So to help you out, I've pre-made a library folder structure for you that is handy for anyone with design file collections that are common to crafters and makers. I've organized it by theme, so it works for a wide variety of crafts, including cut files, sublimation files, and printables. It works on Windows and Mac. You just download and unzip it and then drag it right into your Documents folder and start filling it up. To get my library zip file, go to jennifermaker.com/libraryzip and enter your information so I can send it to you. You can also get thousands of free files to add to your own library by visiting my personal library at jennifermaker.com/library. I'm always adding files to this collection too. All the files that you saw me organizing in this video were from my personal library and are available to you totally free of charge. My library is famous for both being free and for being filled with amazing and awesome and useful designs. I hope you found this useful, and I'm happy to help if you have any questions at all. I invite you to join my community at jennifermaker.com/community and let me know how I can help you. Until next time, this is Jennifer Maker reminding you to craft a life you love.